Balance Podcast.
The mics are set up. First of all, props to our audio man here in Cologne, Marcel. Thank you very much. Also, very big thanks to Auster and Linus from the marketing team in Lithuania for your wonderful efforts. Normally this podcast is about the legal profession in the digital age, and I thought today we might switch it around a little bit and talk about the people profession in the digital age. So with me today is Matteo Freudenthal, CEO and founder of an HR tech company in Cologne. What's up, man? How are you doing, Matteo?
Fine, thank you, man. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah, thanks for coming around today, even though it's a Saturday and we are in a high-risk zone, high-risk corona zone as of yesterday in Cologne, but we have all the safety measures in place. Anyway, thanks for coming around, man.
I rode my bike, so yeah, it was a safe ride here.
Yeah. So, Matteo, what do you do?
Yeah, well, I run a software company called Honestly, and essentially we help companies to improve company culture through measuring what matters and improving it.
So, honestly, it was, however, not your first business venture, though, right? As I understand it, you have been a businessman since the age of what? 7 or 8? When did you start your first business?
Oh, that's such a difficult question, Daniel. But yeah, like I'm an entrepreneur by heart, and as a child, I received less money than all my other pupils. My parents, were strict on that, so I found other ways to make money to buy video games, and it was always trading. It was like trading, I don't know, like collectibles figures. It was trading. Collection cards, Pokemon, Magic, you name it. I never played them. I just traded them and exchanged them for higher value cards and then sold them. And that was like some of the first businesses. At 13, I had like the first repeatable business, which was selling like noodles. It was like noodles that people ate raw. They didn't cook them. They ate them like they would be like peanuts or chips. And I would sell like 60 packages a day in school. And that was actually like, I don't know, 40, 50 euros or of like winnings
revenue
per day. Yeah. So it was actually with 13 I had a budget of over 1,000 euros per month to spend, and I didn't have to spend any on like food at home or shelter or school or like medicine. So it all went into, I don't know, rap albums and computer games and like, you know, taking my friends out to McDonald's and be just the king, you know. That was like like best life a 13-year-old can imagine. I think.
I can only imagine having 1,000 euros a month as a 13-year-old. Sounds dope. Sounds great. I'd actually, now that you just mentioned rap albums, because if you listen to the previous podcast, I was asking Thorsten, would you rather prefer rap music over rock music? So you're definitely in the rap genre.
Yeah, I mean, rap is like so essential. It's so deep. It's real. You know, it's real. When I listen to it, I remember my childhood. I remember just being real and not idolizing stuff, but like telling things as they are. You know, very hard stuff, and also being very creative with words, like finding a way to put them in a way together that they make sense. And every time a good line passes my ears, I press pause and I just reflect on that line and I listen to that again. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. We strayed a little bit off topic, but interesting that you say that as well, because that's what I always liked about rap music as well, that it was always very raw, that it was always a direct channel without any sort of embellishment. Tell me about the first business you had was with the noodles at 13, but then after you finished school, you started your second business.
Oh, well, my first business with employees was actually at school. I was like 17. I had like 5 employees and we knitted finger puppets. I was living in La Paz, Bolivia. And basically I had the privilege to go to Australia when I was 16. And I asked my mom to give me, I don't know, $200 to buy me some clothes for Australia. And she said, yeah, here, take that. And I didn't buy any clothes. I just bought like artisanal stuff. I thought, I could sell that more expensive in Australia. So I arrived in Australia with a package full of stuff I could sell. And I started selling them on the plane. I got a little bit of trouble in that, but I continued on the buses where I had to ride. And I noticed that finger puppets were like doing really, really well. So I had like these finger puppets and from a woman called Augustina, and they did so well that when I came back, I told her, "Hey, let's do some business," and we opened up an Alibaba shop, and we actually managed to sell over 50,000 puppets. In my last year of school, and she actually has her own shop. She was selling on the street before now, and she was like my first business partner. And together we had like 5 knitters, and it was called Bolivian Finger Puppets. And it was very, very empowering because you had all these women, like this 5 women, who told you, I can do this job at home while like taking care of my children, while my husband is driving a minivan or a taxi. And before that, they wouldn't bring any money at home, and they would feel like very less empowered. And then, I don't know, it was like emancipation. You could feel the emancipation, and you were like in this very, very poor neighborhoods with them. And like, I don't know, getting a perspective of their life. I was rather privileged where I lived. So it was very different for me. And every time I had to pay them, I had like pockets full of money, and I was so afraid running through these neighborhoods, but never anything happened.
Yeah. So then they were able to do that all from the comfort of the home while looking after the... So basically you guys were doing home office before it was cool.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we just met like to deliver the products, to do the quality control, and to speak about the new projects. We met, I don't know, once a month. And then the other things were like over the phone. Yeah, how are you? Are you advancing? Are we going to get it in time? So we could like tell our customers. You know, we would only sell B2B. We didn't sell. We only sold like to market to these hippie market people, to I don't know, to little shops, to like I don't know, veterinaries, and And actually, Finger Puppets was a great business because you get like 250 finger puppets or 1 kilo, and if you would ship something from Bolivia to the United States, that was our main market, then it would be like expensive if you would like sell something which is like 2 things a kilo. So it was very cheap to ship them. It was like 4 or 5 cents. It would only add like, I don't know, 10-20% to the total cost, and it was such a great product to like actually export. And I remember those times very, very well.
And you said that now she opened up her own store. So basically, when you left Bolivia, then for your studies or something, you just gave it over to her, or they just continued without you. Or
there was another guy who was like selling more to the consumer, and this guy we gave business basically over to him. And I had the privilege to come to Germany to study industrial engineering, and I would like take another role, not as the founder of the company. I gave it to my role to Augustina, and the other guy who could like do all the talking to foreigner stuff and could talk all these languages, and I just would sell to Christmas markets stands. So I would contact them and get our product there placed, and it was also very good, but it was not the same thing, right? Like I would just be like an intermediary. I would actually buy from my former company product and sell them to the other people. So I wasn't like involved in any decisions. I would just increase their business and my personal business in that time.
So I mean, when you say it, it all sounds really easy. Like, I saw this, and then I saw that this was working well, so I expanded on that. But I mean, as you said, like, you just have this entrepreneurial spirit. Are there any superpowers you need to be able to be an entrepreneur? Is there something? What would you say is the factor that is most important for this character trait?
Yeah, the thing is, it sounds easy, but actually, like. Or many of your ideas fail. Like basically you just try something and then it doesn't work. Like I lost also a lot of customers in that way because I don't know, I experimented a bit and we had also there was a lot of issues. So when you try something, and you want to solve a problem, it either works perfect, then you don't need to solve it anymore, or it doesn't, then you need to iterate. And most people don't even do the first step. They don't even try to look if their solution would actually solve it, because they think, it's not the perfect solution. But if a snake is going to bite you, kill the snake. Don't find the perfect way to kill it. It doesn't matter, And always like that. I think that's a very, very good trait as an entrepreneur, to just try to solve it, see if it works, and then don't punish yourself if it doesn't. It's not a personal thing, You're just doing your best, and you're giving all you can. And if it doesn't work, it's not a personal thing. Then move on, and don't feel so much guilt. I think that's like another thing. Don't feel guilt, because it doesn't make sense. Try to learn. I would say that's like the main thing.
What about risk taking? How important is risk taking? And were you a difference between actually just going for it, gut feeling, or do you always take calculated risk, or do you just say, nah, let's just go ahead, try it,
Yeah, and the tendency, I take like in total, I would say I take too much risk. It's not necessary to take that much risk, but so many people talk about risk, and I don't see any risk actually. Like I don't see it because I don't know. Like when I was founded this company, I was 24 years old. I just finished my studies. I didn't have any family. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have any debt or like a little debt. I don't know. And then what's the risk of like making your own company? I don't get the risk because like okay, against like taking a job at McKinsey or I don't know, a high pay company. I don't know if they would have even hired me, but that was like the risk. Okay, that would have been a salary cut, but would have been like there was like no other thing. So I don't see, most of the times I don't see like a real risk in there. And the tendency risk is overestimated, you know, like the risk is something why people won't take it, but as soon as you take the risk, you pay a lesser price than other people would pay because you're assuming the risk, and as soon as you have assumed the risk, you can de-risk immediately, and you can get, you know, you can like cover the bottom.
Right. Cool. So tell us more about honesty. Like, a second ago you just gave us the elevator pitch, but in general, or not in general, but in particular, what does honesty do? What is your aim? What is your vision?
So you see, there's like a lot of hidden costs when people do not feel well at work. 50% of all sickness days in Germany are due to company culture. And people leave companies. People don't leave companies, but don't work for the companies with their whole heart anymore. People don't develop, people don't feel identified, and it's like huge costs, and they're all related to company culture. The way to measure it over the last 20 years was over Market Research Institute to make like yearly or bi-yearly surveys, and that idea that in theory sounds well didn't work well. People would get like the same answers all over again, and they wouldn't move on. They wouldn't actually solve the issues, and we saw that. We had like a technology to easily grasp feedback. We got like some customers who were already asking for it, and together with them we developed a solution where we wouldn't measure as much as we would act and take initiatives. So we developed a solution where you would have a continuous listening process with like initiatives in place, and many of the issues that would engage into a better or higher culture, where you would have like thoughts and behaviors that are wished and are strived for faster in place. For example, if you would like not to burn so much to your people, you would ask them, hey, did you work more than 70 hours this week? And there's some company cultures where that is like common, but if they want really to grasp the people and don't burn them, that's maybe not as needed. But even in cultures where they work less, people whose ideas are like ignored, and people are just frustrated and resignated by situations, also have a very bad impact. And you can actually measure those things, you can counteract those things, and if you see the economical impact it can have on your company, then it's really also worth doing so. And for me, it's also a passion thing, you know, like when I wake up and I listen to stories, and I listen to my friends who listen what they are living day to day, I think, okay, there's a better way to do that, and maybe we can have a little contribution towards that.
Yeah, cool. So a term that is thrown around a lot today is the term of new work. And it's very interesting to talk to people about new work, because every person says it's something different for them. Like, there's thousands of definitions for the term new work. So I want to ask, what is this for you?
In very simple words, it's like a paradigm shift towards change from control. You know, old work was control, and new work is change.
Change and trust. That's
trust.
Trust over control. Change over control.
Many managers, when they're in trouble, they look for control when what they need is change.
That's it. So we were talking about, now that you're talking about managers, just I'm going to ask it in a metaphorical question. Would you rather wear a snapback cap to work or a Rolex watch?
Both. If it's like real gold and shiny. I could actually do both. I don't know.
Now that I think of it, that was I should have foreseen that answer actually.
And it also depends on the snapback. But I rather have not so. I'd rather not wear watches actually. So I would go for the snapback. Yeah. And I actually wear them sometimes to work. You know that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I mean, the idea behind it is, the I don't know, the mindset sometimes that you have of managers. Is how do you think that will actually work out in the future? This, let's say, very elite and hierarchical structures. Is there a place for these? I mean, I'm not talking about like army or something. Of course, in some lines of work, you do need a strict hierarchy. But I mean, just for strict office work. Do you think hierarchy will have a place somewhere in the future?
I now see where you're going with your question. So basically, there's like a lot of things that are implemented to maintain a certain distance between managers and their employees, and like status symbols as like, I don't know, higher cars or Rolex cars or like fancy suits. They're like some of the symptoms that are established to maintain like this distance and to create sort of I don't know, higher value for these. For these managers, and those are things that have that they don't implement real respect and real loyalty, and distance never creates trust. And I don't think that this is a model that will survive over a long time. I think trust is the thing which is like the most important thing in company culture. And trust is created through transparency and also to closeness, And to if someone listens to you and talks to you on the same level, you can trust this person much better than if it's a distant person.
Absolutely.
So all these mechanisms which have been established to create distance and hierarchy are not so useful to inspire trust in people.
It's often said that employees are the most valuable resource of a company. Is that true more today than it was, let's say, 30 years ago?
There was like a shift in work, like to do things in a very mechanical way. Especially like if you look at production lines today, they're highly automatized, and this robots are going to take over all that stuff and all that work, and also in like intellectual work, we will have AI, which will take away a lot of our work. Maybe we'll have like an AI interviewer someday.
Possible.
But as you see, we have to compete in the things that we are stronger, and I think because of that, to actually get to people's ideas and to what makes people and emotions, it is more valuable today than 30 years ago. But I think it was always very valuable. And if you look, I don't know, I've read like some Made in America from Sam Walton from Walmart, and what he tells you about like how important his employees were in his journey. Or if you read the story of Götz Werner, who created like DM, Drogeriemärkte, great entrepreneur of Germany. And you also notice like how decision making inside the frontline employees, that it was like the thing that made him successful, right? Destroying hierarchies. And creating a very, very close relationship to the people in frontline and giving them all the decision power he can. Then I don't know, maybe there's no difference between now and 30 years ago, but now it will be more important to make people think and less execute. That will be like a big paradigm shift that we're living right now. And then maybe that will also increase how important it is to make people feel empowered to take these decisions and to think and not just execute.
Absolutely. No, I think it's amazing how this idea is getting more and more traction nowadays. But I think even Richard Branson back in the 80s and 90s said something: if you want a happy client, you have to make your employees happy first, and once your employees are happy, then that will transfer to the client. So okay, so Matteo, during your career, you've probably had a lot of dealings with lawyers. What is your image that you have in your mind of lawyers?
I don't know. For me, lawyers are like doctors, Really, they help you to navigate through a world that you don't have any idea of, and if you don't listen to them, you will like probably die. It's not a thing that I don't know that you really are. I don't know. I'm not very passionate about like the legal system in any place.
In any place.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it's like it's an interesting place, and I know how people are passionate about it. But I'm not passionate about medicine, so I also not passionate about the legal system. So I don't know as much about it as them. And like I don't know if. I don't know, as I say, they are like doctors. You try to talk to them as little as possible, but when you talk to them, you really need that.
It's going to be necessary. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true, because nobody's like, oh, yes, nice, we have to call the lawyer now. Because if you have to call the lawyer, it means, a problem got out of hand and it's probably going to get expensive. So nobody's ever happy to call the lawyer. But yeah, as you said, it is necessary. Is there something that you would... Because at the end of the day, this is a legal podcast. Is there something that you would like more in your dealings with lawyers and the way they talk or something? Or just in general, any feedback you have for the lawyers listening to this podcast?
I don't know. There's like some lawyers who really get it and they try to make it simple, for the entrepreneurs. Just try to find words where they explain it like really, really easily what they need to do. And also like taking a stand, because lawyers never want to take any risk, and they always try to make very, very safe decisions.
Absolutely.
But as an entrepreneur, you're a risk taker, so you would like to evaluate actually the risks. So it's a very you cannot take them by the word, but you have to like interpret their words, and that's make it very hard for entrepreneurs. Like it would be easier if the lawyer would be like, "Hey, I will cut the mic off, but these are the risks, and I would actually personally recommend you this." But we never get that. You never get that. You always get only the safest choice, and the other options as something they would not recommend. But they always put like words around it.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I would like to have like the straight things, and maybe I didn't find like the lawyer with the. And I think it's also legal risk for them. I think there's some laws that prevent them from doing so, even if some would like prefer to talk like that.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, if you ask lawyer, is it a yes or no question? The lawyer will never answer with yes or no. They will always answer with it depends on that what you just said. Yeah. So I've been seeing on my LinkedIn feed lately a lot of people, especially a lot of women who studied law, are founding. One of our first guests, Madeleine Hoyts, you know her.
Yeah.
Are you in contact with? Have you seen that trend as well? Like that generally, more women are founding companies nowadays.
I mean, if you look at the legal or law students, there's like a lot of more women than if you would like look into tech. If you would go into like IT or mathematics, you would like see a lot less women. So it's very good and encouraging that you have like law founders or legal tech founders like Madeleine and others who and to inspire more female entrepreneurship, because we need actually all kinds of perspectives on that. And if they are more better experts on that, I don't know, like in my household, my mom always was the judge, so I think they have some competence in that.
Yeah. We actually, what you just said, the idea that lawyers have to speak in more clear language. I am actually interviewing, the next guest will be Anna Mork. I don't know if you heard about her.
No.
She's actually founded a magazine called The Legal Layman, which is exactly that. Basically, she's going to talk about everyday problems, legal problems, but she's going to explain in her magazine. She's going to explain that in clear language, in language that anyone can understand. So I'm very excited about that. This is the controversial question, Matteo. What has been the biggest fail in your career so far? Or we can just personally, professionally, whatever is. What has it been? Yeah.
That's a very deep one, but I'll tell you that I think I am responsible for a former employee of ours getting burnout, or at least like partially responsible, and that's like a very, very big pain for me. I don't know, it's some years ago, but I still wake up to it, and it really feels very, very painful that to have to be partially or fully responsible to cause that kind of pain to someone and being totally preventable. And only reflection made me realize of that. And it was never my intention, but it was the result, and it made me like rethink my whole life. And it's like the biggest failure I had as an entrepreneur. And I hope it never happens to any entrepreneur. And I really encourage every entrepreneur to take care of their people. and to see if they're not carrying too much on their plates, because people, that are very eager and want to achieve a lot. They put a lot of stuff on their plates, and as an entrepreneur, you love those kind of peoples, and then you think you can just put more stuff on their plates because they're delivering. And once that thing gets broken, you will lose a very good relationship, and you will lose good colleague, and you will lose a lot of momentum, and you will lose a lot of trust in yourself.
Yeah,
as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. In the aftermath, I mean, what particular steps did you take? I mean, I can obviously see that it took you long, hard. You know, that you had to fight a lot with that. You know, with that happening. Yeah. What particular steps did you take in order to make sure that that never happens again?
Well, the first thing was to establish a prioritization on values, a prioritization on company culture in our own company. It was something that, like, a very big step. It was we hired a head of people to help us to really understand these kind of projects and how we can prevent those situations. We we do our emotional check-ins now before every huddle, so we know how people feel. And we check on our people much more regularly through at least monthly on one-on-ones. So we really understand if someone is like overloaded or someone is like going through something, so we can be supportive in those situations. And those are like the concrete steps. And then mindset steps, there was also like a lot of mindsets that we changed in our heads, coming like from, I don't know, when I was like in uni, being like a consultant and working 80 or 100 hours. That was like something you would strive for, and it's like not something we would strive for anymore, and we would not encourage that in our people.
Tell me more about these emotional check-ins, because I think that is something that I've never seen at any company before. How exactly does that work? What is the goal of these check-ins?
So every time like 2 or more people meet, they would like tell their intention for the meeting, and they would tell like how they feel. And the emotional check-in gives the other person a perspective. If this person is like, if she's very happy or encouraged, and then they can share that happiness, and that happens a lot. Or if someone is going through a very stressful thing, or something in particular stresses them, then they can go into the after talks and talk about it and say, hey, I didn't know it would stress you so much, and really talk it out. So there's a lot of issues that normally are never even named, because they would be considered too little. But in this emotional check-ins, a lot of dynamics happen, and you can really understand how people feel, and you can act towards it if it's negative, and you can get encouraged if it's positive. And it helps. What helped me most is to understand my own emotions, to express them, because I was never like this kind of guy who like expresses emotions, but when I had to do it, and I would say, oh, I feel good, I feel bad, people would tell me, oh, that's not an emotion. And I would like really have to go deeper into me to understand what is the real emotion beneath it.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the opposite question. What was the best experience you ever had for your company, or just in general, any company you ever founded? Is there such a thing as the best emotion, or is it just, the best experience when you were at the height of happiness?
Okay. That's actually when you listen, when you have like the opposite thing. When for me, it's also like a company culture when people are they don't respect the hierarchies. They would tell me if I'm making like bad decisions. They would actually oppose those decisions, and I would see, okay, I've created a culture where people would actually name it if they see something wrong. People would use our values to make decisions. If people are inspired by our vision, and I lived that so many times, and I lived that I don't know, almost day to day. Or if they get like if they are strong even in hard situations, those things that they give you a lot of energy, and you can live off that, and you can really like think about what's next. And those little moments of happiness, they come in I would say almost every day, and they create like a life that is really worth living. So I couldn't like name a single moment, but I would say like there's a lot of moments that really, really, really are worth living, and that make me very, very happy. And they all have to do with people feeling empowered in our organization to make better decisions than I could do being more competent or seeing more stuff, and living that. And you live that, if you're in Kronstadt, you will live that more and more and more and more. So yeah, my life gets happier and happier and happier every day.
That's nice. That's nice. We're coming to the end of the interview. This is one of the last questions. I remember what Madeleine said to this question. She said it's necessary to run into as many walls head first as possible. And so the question is, what message would you like to put out to listeners, maybe people that are still in school or still in uni that are thinking about founding their own company?
Yeah. If you're thinking about your own company, there's 2 things you can't afford, and you can afford everything else. And these 2 things are overhead and burnout.
That's it?
That's
nice.
it.
Wonderful. Okay, yeah, then I think it's time to wrap it up. I would just like to say goodbye to our listeners, and don't forget to tune into the last episode featuring Šarūnas Nabutas, a lawyer and public figure from Lithuania, who was interviewed by our founder, Edgaras. Matteo, thank you once again. Thank you so much for coming today, even though it's a Saturday and I know your schedule. So I know how much you have to do. So it's really nice that you actually found the way to come to our apartment and give this wonderful interview. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Daniel. And listeners, don't forget to subscribe to Legal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nice.
Prevents Podcast.